bills and moving away from streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and others for something better. Q Broadcast. For just $60 a month, you'll get access to every channel you could ever want, including HBO, Cinemax, and Stars. And the best part? There are no contracts, no hidden fees, and you're free to cancel anytime. With Q Broadcast, you can enjoy streaming live TV, movies, and top series on up to 5 devices at once. Whether you're at home or on the go, Q Broadcast makes sure your entertainment is always at your fingertips. Imagine being able to watch all your favorite channels from anywhere, anytime, without any restrictions. We're talking about thousands of movies, hundreds of TV series, and a huge library of live channels, all in one place. And don't forget video on demand and pay-per-view events. Those are included at no extra cost, so you'll never miss a big event again. Now, take a second and think about your current cable bill. You're probably paying anywhere between $100 and $300 every month, locked into long-term contracts and hit with surprise rate increases. With Q Broadcast, that's a thing of the past. It's just $60 a month. No contracts, no extra fees, no hidden costs, and no price hikes. Why juggle multiple subscriptions like Netflix, Hulu, and cable when Q Broadcast gives you everything you need in one convenient package? People everywhere are switching to Q Broadcast, saving money and getting more content than ever before. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and sign up for Q Broadcast today. Just $60 a month, no contracts, no hidden fees. It's time to take control of your entertainment and start streaming smarter.
We live in a world where men are told it's harmless. It's just entertainment. But let's stop lying to ourselves. Pornography destroys. It weakens your spirit. It dulls your drive. And it robs you of what real intimacy is supposed to be. Every click is a step away from the man you're supposed to be. We can't call ourselves leaders if we are slaves to a screen.
As someone that is prior service, I know all about discipline. And discipline isn't out there. It's within your mind. Porn rewires your brain, weakens your will, wrecks all of your relationships. It doesn't just stay on a screen. It invades your marriage, your confidence, and your actual purpose. As men, if we don't learn to discipline ourselves, we'll be ruled by our impulses. Now, it is time to stand up and take control before this silent war takes more than you're willing to lose.
Real men don't hide in the shadows of shame. We step up and we protect what's ours. We fight for our wives and kids, our own hearts. Twitter isn't just an app. It's a weapon. It's a tool used to break free and start living like the man that you're meant to be. The battle's here and it starts with you. You can stop living in shame and you can break free today.
Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling coward, check out the John Age Project at anomicage.com.
Meet Ann Morrissey, who is here with her daughter, Dareth. Dareth is 17 years old. Mrs. Morrissey, I don't have to tell you that most parents would be extremely depressed if their daughter came home one day looking like this. I assume that was your response shock, anger, depression? What was it?
I was extremely angry. I really went bananas.
Yeah, how old was she when this happened?
possibly 13, 14 years old.
We're talking like it's a disease, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah. How did she explain it to you, Mrs. Morrison?
there was very poor communication until we went into counseling. And it almost broke up our family. But through counseling and Serena, I can understand it better.
What do you understand?
That she feels like she doesn't want to be like everyone else, and she wants to be her own person. And through the dress code and her lifestyle, she's expressing this. It doesn't conform with our rules, but we're learning to cope, and it's a very, very difficult thing. Extremely difficult.
Dareth, let's let you talk for yourself. You're from Long Beach, California.
I just can't handle being like everybody else because that's what everybody else wants, you know. Just because somebody else does something does not mean that I have to do it. You know, I have my own morals and ideals, and I go by them.
Are you drug-free, Dareth?
Yes, I am.
Is this a political statement, then? Do you have some misgiving about the society that you see?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems, you know. A lot of the people are really aware of what's going on, you know, and I don't like it, you know. There's a lot of problems. I don't like the way society is based.
What bothers you? Give us some of the misgivings you have.
The rich, the poor, the people starving, the wars, you know. Why can't, you know, everybody just get along and just live their life?
You know something is wrong, and it's time to stand up. You are listening to The John Age Show.
Trust no one. Trust no one. Trust no one.
You found it. You're here. We are headlong down the runaway train that is the Anomic Age, and I'm your host, John Age. Please check out anomicage.com if you've not already done so. Like all the likes, subscribe to all those subscriptions. PayPal.me/anomicage, Patreon.com/anomicage as well is definitely the best ways you can support the show and help me out. We got a great guest today. I'm going to sort of cut things short because I don't want to miss a second. We got a great guest today. We got none other than Mr. Jason Jones with us. Jason is a film producer, author, activist, and Catholic human rights worker. For the past 25 years, he has worked to defend the most vulnerable, from the homeless on the streets of Los Angeles to the persecuted Christians in Africa, from women in crisis pregnancies to victims of honor killings in Iran. Thank you so much, Jason, for being with us, sir. It's an honor, and I want to thank you up front for making the time.
Oh, John, thank you for giving me time on your show. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely, man. Well, I know we're a little short on time, so I don't want to miss a minute, but the real thing kind of pressing on my heart that I haven't had enough guests on, which is why I'm so happy to have you on to talk about this, is the war against children. I mean, you tackle it very early on from conception to adulthood, you know, but I look at this whole predicament that we're in as really the war against children, the war against that next generation, which has been a multi-generational battle, it seems, against us.
Yeah, you know, I think that this just dawned on me yesterday. I was asked to help write a white paper for someone who's going to be running for Senate, and they're pro-life, but the RNC asked them to water their position down. And I'm going to share with the candidate that really what you need to do is express what you actually believe to the people that you are hoping to represent. First of all, that we need to be honest. And it was while working on this white paper that it struck me that the abortion issue, of course, it's violence against the most vulnerable members of our family, the child in the womb. But it's really the beginning of the big lies that are unraveling our civil society. Abortion was really the first big lie. Well, I mean, in many ways, racism, you could say, was the first big lie. Not to take a knee before the 1619 Project. That's not the type of racism. That's not what I'm claiming. In our republic, from the very beginning, you had the wheat and the tares growing together. You had this beautiful declaration principle that our founding fathers put forth as sort of the bedrock of our republic, that we're all endowed by our creator with inalienable rights. While at the same time, the weeds of the old worlds, from Africa across Arabia and even into Eastern Europe, of course, we had a long tradition of slavery, and racism has addled all cultures. So that's a big lie. But the big lie that of Roe v. Wade, that we don't know when the biological beginning of the human person is, I think really is what led us to lies on gender, lies on climate. Once we accepted that, they learned that they can gaslight us to believe almost anything. And so now you have men punching women in the face in mixed martial arts because they say that they identify as women, which is going to get someone killed. So in that way, I think that abortion is the most important issue. First of all, look, it's a brutal denial of our founding principle, the same way slavery denied our founding principle. It's a brutal denial of the truth of the human person, the same way that the trans ideology denies the truth of the human person. And I think it greatly impacts our foreign policy. Mother Teresa said that the fruit of abortion will be nuclear war. And so when you look at Obama's drone program, you look at under President Bush, who obviously was a very flawed president, but his drone program, I think there was 1 or 2 civilian casualties, where in Obama, you had thousands of civilians that were killed by his drone policy, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children from Yemen to Pakistan. When you look at the way that Biden so callously turned his back on the women and the people of Afghanistan and just traipsed away in such a ham-fisted, clumsy way that allowed the country to collapse into chaos. And now the majority of Afghans are facing starvation. This is unprecedented. Of course, the media is not covering it. Only a president that denied the dignity of the child in the womb could be so callous in our foreign policy. So I really do believe, and I know so many of you watching this show will agree with me on so many things, but the abortion issue touches you personally and you feel personally offended. Look, I myself am responsible for at least one abortion. So this is an intimate thing. And so this is something that all Americans are intimately connected to. Oftentimes we feel judged by people who say they're pro-life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we have all accepted the big lie, and that children in the womb have been the victim along with their mothers, and that if we want to leave our posterity with a culture of life and a civilization of love, the first place we need to begin is by defending the child in the womb from violence.
That's an absolute fact. And I love what you're saying, because it really, I think, is so spot on, because they got us to believe that with Roe versus Wade. It's just a clump of cells. It's no big deal. And now they've gotten us to accept more and more atrocities, from the drone strikes to the castration and removal of breasts of minors. I mean, it just keeps going on down the line. And I look at so much of this on the social media. Often they have all these people just fighting each other in the streets now. Just bedlam, people fighting in a supermarket, people fighting in the streets. I think we've just become, more and more accepting of immorality is no other way to put it, I think.
John, I live and I recently left Hawaii for the German hill country of Texas, in a rural, it used to be rural, but Texas is booming. So it's growing rapidly. We're the fastest growing county in the United States. But when I travel quite a bit in the past 6 weeks, I've been in 10 countries and as many states, and I go to a lot of big cities. And, you know, I'm from Chicago. I left at 17 when I joined the Army for Hawaii, but I'm from Chicago, and Chicago was a beautiful city. Not perfect. San Francisco was a beautiful city, not perfect. San Diego was just a beautiful city. Austin was quirky and liberal, but beautiful and fun, and you loved going there. And what big city would you want to go to today in the United States? Name one that you'd be excited. I can't wait to go. Remember how excited we would be? Oh, you know, I'm taking my wife to San Francisco. Or so excited. You know, you go. I was in San Diego. My daughter recently gave birth to her first child, my granddaughter, my third grandchild.
Oh, congratulations.
And, thank you. I went to visit her. I was actually in London. I flew from London to San Diego. Can you believe they have a direct flight from London to San Diego?
That's crazy.
And San Diego is just, the last time I was in downtown San Diego was 10 years ago. Unrecognizable. I literally, this is not hyperbole, I'm not making this up. I was walking down the street and I saw a very obese woman in underwear smoking crack. Broad daylight in the heart of downtown San Diego. I was in Phoenix 2 weeks ago. In downtown Phoenix, I went into a coffee shop. It was they had Hawaii coffee, so I was so excited to go to this coffee shop. There was a lunatic yelling at the owner. Then a homeless man was demanding that they charge his phone and watch it while he goes out for the day. And they're like, sorry, sir, we can't watch your phone. You can't leave your phone here. You're welcome to stay here and charge the phone. And they were trying to explain that to him. We're not going to be responsible for your phone. You can't leave your phone here. And then when that ended, I said to the lady, this is wild. You need to do a reality show about your coffee shop. And then I see this look of gasp in all the baristas' faces. Behind me, a homeless man stripped butt naked and was fanning was doing this with his underwear.
Oh,
and I said, does this happen all the time? And she said, what, the people stripping naked? I said, yeah. She goes, no, this doesn't happen that much. Maybe only twice a month or so.
Good grief.
And so we have to admit, look, we're falling apart, John. I'm falling apart. You're probably falling apart. Our neighborhoods are falling apart. Our country's falling apart. And this is a sorrowful thing. And I'm a Christian, and I really just think we need to beg for God's grace, and we need to just wrestle our wills to conform to the grace that God is giving us, because it's not normal. Things in our country are not normal, and they're not sustainable.
No, not at all. I mean, I've said this on my show many times, but I had some family in Memphis, Tennessee. So growing up, we would go sort of back and forth every few years to see my grandmother and my uncle and so forth. And we went out there a few years ago, I think about 5, and it was just nuts. It was just bedlam. Like, it was potholes the size of this room in the road. Every single convenience store had an armed guard out front. I was like, I mean, I was already concealed carrying, but I was like, man, I'm hyper alert now more than usual, because it's just, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm here with my daughter. It's like 5 at the time. Yeah.
You need armed guards for Slurpees and Doritos now.
Yeah, that's what was up, yeah.
So you need to put your Slurpees behind, a guy with a 9mm. It's very strange times.
It's nuts.
And and it has to change.
It is.
And it's because it's the culture of death. I want to go back to the abortion and trans issue, by the way.
Please.
They always say that abortion is about women's rights. They say the same thing about the trans issue.
Mm-hmm.
But both are really men's issues. They're to help men evade their responsibility. And they're to give, what we're seeing in the news is not women becoming men who want to compete against other boys, but these are young men who want to compete against young women. And again, it's really about empowering young men. Abortion is about empowering young men to do what they want, how they want, when they want, where they want, and evade responsibility. And the trans agenda has devolved. I believe, talk to my children about this. Initially, all of us want to be compassionate. We want to be thoughtful. As Jordan Peterson said, I would have been kind to everyone, but they wanted me to lie, and I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted us to lie, not just be compassionate and thoughtful, but to lie and say that a woman is a man. be compelled to. In fact, I think Jordan Peterson said he would have done it if he wasn't compelled to do it. He wouldn't be compelled to lie. He might say an untruth out of courtesy, but he wouldn't be compelled by a powerful force to say an untruth. And so we see now that the trans movement has devolved really into there's nothing compassionate about it at all. It's very cruel. It's about brutalizing young people, and how has it become about men taking jobs from women as spokesmodels for lingerie and for Budweiser and competing in amateur sports? This is just, it's really unbelievable. So at the heart of it, to any feminists here watching, there's nothing that's more patriarchal than abortion and trans ideology, the way I see it.
Yeah. And it's so strange because I used to see they would sort of hushed tones talk about female genital mutilation in the Muslim culture, and that became a little bit more in your face. But now it's just, they're not even hiding. It's no holds barred. There's pictures all over social media, which I can't even look at, of women that have cut off their breasts. Just these made penises. I mean, I hate to get graphic for everybody, but I mean, that's what this really is. It's castration. It's mastectomies for no reason. It's grotesque. And this is in your face.
And in the Muslim world, I have a friend who had her genitalia mutilated as a young person. And it was the women in her family and in her village that compelled her to do this. And I've seen some of these athletes, these female athletes that have been in the media saying what's so strange to them is it's so often women that are taking the side of men against women in this genital. Gonna lie. They started, they wanted us to lie, not just be compassionate and thoughtful, but to lie and say that a woman is a man, be compelled to. In fact, I think Jordan Peterson said he would have done it if he wasn't compelled to do it. He wouldn't be compelled to lie. He might say an untruth out of courtesy, but he wouldn't be compelled by a powerful force to say an untruth. And so we see now that the trans movement has devolved really into there's nothing compassionate about it at all. It's very cruel. It's about brutalizing young people, and how has it become about men taking jobs from women as spokesmodels for lingerie and for Budweiser and competing in amateur sports? This is just, it's really unbelievable. So at the heart of it, to any feminists here watching, there's nothing that's more patriarchal than abortion and trans ideology, the way I see it.
Yeah. And it's so strange because I used to see they would sort of hushed tones talk about female genital mutilation in the Muslim culture, and that became a little bit more in your face. But now it's just, they're not even hiding. It's no holds barred. There's pictures all over social media, which I can't even look at, of women that have cut off their breasts. Just these made penises. I mean, I hate to get graphic for everybody, but I mean, that's what this really is. It's castration. It's mastectomies for no reason. It's grotesque. And this is in your face.
And in the Muslim world, I have a friend who had her genitalia mutilated as a young person. And it was the women in her family and in her village that compelled her to do this. And I've seen some of these athletes, these female athletes that have been in the media saying what's so strange to them is it's so often women that are taking the side of men against women in this genital mutilation. It has given us the opportunity to really fight for and articulate our vision of the human being.
I love you mentioned the dignity that both sexes have, because I think that's so beautiful, and it's something that the left has tried to take from us, like that God-given masculine and feminine energy that comes together, makes that child and builds that family unit that is so sacrosanct, in my opinion, to everything. And they've done everything to say, oh, but we want to be equal. I realize that equality to a degree, but I mean, I love that the unequal nature is what makes us balanced. That strong male energy, that more compassionate female energy. I mean, that's what makes the home and fosters the love that builds those children, and they want to take that away.
Yeah, and women have a strength in many ways. They're much more. I really find, especially with my work serving vulnerable communities around the world, that men, we're physically stronger. I mean, that's a fact. But in many ways, I think women have an emotional strength that men can't even begin to imagine. Like, I think if you were just to say, here's men's physical strength and here's women's physical strength, I would say here's women's emotional strength.
Yeah,
and here's men's.
That's
strength.
true.
When I'm working with refugees, when I'm working with Afghan families in hiding, when I'm dealing with Afghan freedom activists and Afghan activist women who are fighting for women's rights in the heart of Kabul today, and they're beaten and whipped and imprisoned and threatened, and they go back right out into the streets.
Man.
That's a very unusual strength. And what you're seeing with the trans movement, again, is an exaggeration of what is masculine and feminine. You see in Canada recently, there was a viral video of these members of parliament in Canada to celebrate or to bring attention to domestic violence. These men wore red high heels. They wore suits and ties, and they wore red high heels, and they marched around a desk.
I saw that.
You saw that?
Yeah.
You see transgender story hour. They always have like E cups, not C.
Yeah.
E. It's perverse, and they have gaudy makeup, and they exaggerate what it is to be feminine in a way that frat boys would have done in a party and in a hazing ceremony in the 80s.
Yeah.
So what would have been seen as sexist when frat boys did it in the 80s, you can now do it at school, having a man read to children in a grotesque, exaggerated, exaggerating what it is to be feminine. And you see the same thing with the masculine. You see the women who are trans, they become men. They always take on the exaggeration of it all, which is really, it's really devastating to young people, because the affectations of manliness isn't what it is to be a man. So if you're a young, effeminate man, that doesn't make you gay. That just means, you are who you are. And if you're a young woman and you're a tomboy, that doesn't diminish your femininity. But what you're seeing in these trans activists all the time is they're really doing exaggerated stereotypes of what men and female are. The very things the left criticized, like an hour and a half ago.
Yes.
Not that long ago. And it's just become so absurd that we're building a beautiful coalition. I mean, on our side now, we have everyone from Joe Rogan to Robert Kennedy Jr., to Tulsi Gabbard, to Dave Chappelle. I mean, they've given us everyone. I mean, even Bill Maher runs over to our side every once in a while. I think Bill Maher would rather live on our side, but he needs to, he probably has debt or taxes he has to pay. I don't know. But they're really handing America over to us. And that's why they're increasing censorship. Today, Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News. I don't know if you saw that. So, and I think the censorship is going to be ramped up, and they're going to call us all sorts of names. But it's something I always tell my children, is that we need to love people more than we worry about being liked.
Mm-hmm.
And, it would not be loving to allow these bizarre ideologies to run amok, because they can go in unexpected, dangerous places. What started in the late 19th century with Germans getting into ruins and the maypole and old poetry, no one could have imagined would have by leaps and bounds led to the rise of Nazi Germany. And we're seeing the same things with no one would have imagined in the 1950s or 1960s, the environmental movement progressing to where it has progressed. And we could have never imagined in the 1990s. Well, a lot of thinkers did. I remember, Francis Schaeffer, the Reformed theologian in the 1970s, kind of saw where this was headed. But I would not have seen, and I remember in the 1990s being an atheist libertarian, talking to my friends who are really adamant about battling same-sex marriage, which I was doing. I was helping as chairman of the College Republicans because I saw them as common allies in my battle to defend the child and woman from violence. But I really wasn't passionate about it. And they said, Jason, don't you understand? This is going to lead to the normalization of pedophilia.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to lead to, and all of these things. I said, how can you say that? How can you say that being trying to show some kindness and decency to people with same-sex attraction is going to lead to the normalization of pedophilia? That's a very offensive thing to say. Okay, but it happened.
Yeah,
it really did happen. And so where are we going to go from here? I mean, where is the next great leap, into the dark going to take us? Because I think it's in a very dark place right now.
it sure is. And I completely agree. And I was probably the same way in the 90s also. I mean, I was kind of like, oh, it's no big deal. I didn't see where it was going to lead. And now we see right where it leads. And I got to hold the churches, I think, so culpable for this, because I think a lot of Christians just kind of went with that, just accept it kind of mentality. The World Council of Churches, if you will, has kind of infiltrated so much and gotten people just to go along to get along. I don't know how to say it any better. They did it with abortion. They're doing it with trans now. So.
Yeah, no. And look, we're all in this together. We need to have an absolute victory, right? Because what should victory look like? It should look like we can watch a football game together.
Yeah.
Across the ideological spectrum. It can look like Thanksgiving isn't going to give us anxiety. It can look like we're allowed to have a diversity of opinions. And I can say on the right, I think we do a much better job. I don't know if we were always this way, or if those of us who just grew up conservative and then, in the past 50 years, we were the minority in our high schools and our universities. We were badgered by the faculty. So we had to be really open to a diversity of opinion. I don't know if it's just by the nature of what we believe. In fact, what are conservatives? I mean, traditionally in the English-speaking world, a conservative was a properly understood a liberal. A liberal. And Edmund Burke, we would call it classical liberalism. But this idea of free speech, private property rights, this is what we, freedom of religion, this is what we meant by liberal. Now on the right, you're having a lot of post-liberal conservatives who have lost faith in that there can be freedom of speech, or does freedom of religion always devolve into, satanic, conventions in Boston? Is this necessarily true? And I hope not, because I really do want to, continue to advocate for a fair and free society.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end, that's what we all want. I mean, I'd love to just have a nice holiday meal with all the family and extended family and not have to go into it going, all right, let's just talk about what exactly,
or like, let's disagree. Like, no one's more pro-life than, listen, I became pro-life. The abortion issue fell on me like a rock. I didn't choose it. My high school girlfriend got pregnant. We conspired to hide it while I joined the Army. Till I got back from basic training, we would tell her parents. Her father found out. We were naive that we could hide it for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And he took her to get a forced third trimester abortion. And so for me, it's a very personal issue. Okay. But I don't get angry at all when people disagree with me, because I know the person I'm talking to might have been abused by her stepfather.
Yeah.
And the pregnancy was the most startling and horrifying experience of her life. And she went to an abortion clinic and she felt like it saved her from this shame and from this abuse. So I understand that people have different experiences and are coming from different places, and I can talk to them about anything. Now, when I'm Catholic, when people are intentionally impious or extremely ignorant and misrepresent what the church teaches, hold on one second. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Misrepresents what the church teaches. I can be angry, right? If you're going to blaspheme in front of me, I can be angry. If you gaslight me, I can get angry. But if you approach me honestly and you disagree with me, it doesn't upset me at all. Why? Because I'm a grown-up.
Yeah.
You know, I have people I love who disagree with me on so much. And so I know people are coming from different experiences. And maybe your sister had an abortion and you took her. And when you hear me say I'm pro-life, you feel like I'm insulting your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about this. I'm going to
No,
shut this
that's
off.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key elements of this. It all seems to be so emotionally charged now. There doesn't seem to be any sort of civil discourse. It seems to be a whole lot of finger pointing and getting loud and you know, even getting violent and crazy in in conversations now, which, you know, really as adults, like you said, it shouldn't really be like that.
Yeah, no, and you see people who get so worked up for every and all issue.
Yeah.
It's not even the hot button issues. It's issues. I spoke once at a Catholic high school and I used gender pronouns. And I got a letter from the principal that said this was offensive. This was maybe 7 years ago. I had no idea that gender pronouns could in any way be offensive. So it's really a cultural revolution that's designed to stifle free speech.
Mm-hmm.
And look, it's all absurd. Look, we now know the masks were absurd. You knew it. I knew it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, now the world knows that it causes all sorts of problems. I don't know if there's new studies coming out on the devastating health effects of wearing these masks. The vaccines, big boondoggle, a dangerous boondoggle. Social distancing, complete nonsense. And but yet people were vicious. They didn't care whether masks worked or not. They just wanted to be the guardians of the gods of the city. So in that way, we need to be impious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what Christians are. We're iconoclasts in the sense that the false gods, your masks, your vaccines, your gender ideology, we're going to tear those down. And yet, you know, we find that the gods, our city has so many gods now. You know, they used to have just a few, but you pretty much can't open your mouth without becoming a heretic and committing blasphemy to these tyrannical idols that our city kneels before.
And I think that's another key element to this is just I don't know how else to say it, but the evil. Like our culture as a whole has just been infiltrated by so much evil. You know, we take it back to abortion and the trans thing to where we go now, but I mean it's that old nothing new under the sun thing from Solomon. It's that same old evil. It's just sort of worked its way into all the little cracks and crevices of our, you know, our great city on the hill until here we are looking at Sodom and Gomorrah, it looks like to me.
Yeah, no, I always think there are, you know, people from Sodom and Gomorrah tapping God on the shoulder going, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this?
Yes.
What's going on? We didn't do any of that. What are you doing? And in the end, but you started the show off perfectly because you nailed it. We're just a sad, unhappy, violent society.
Yeah.
And you know, for my family, for your family, we're becoming like, I have friends that live in very dangerous parts of the world, but they have a little heaven. They have their little haciendas, or they have their walled homes. And I've created a walled garden for my children. We homeschool them. You know, we travel. We're very careful about where and when we go with our children. But I tell my children, you know, you're being raised like the young Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. You're being raised in a garden. But outside this garden, our society, lots of children are being just sent every day out into this cruel and hostile world. And then they come home and through social media and through television and through films. They're being bombarded. And this needs to end.
Mm-hmm.
I just want, for the kids, when you and me were kids, what did we do? We played baseball in the street, and we went through puberty. We went to the roller rink, or we walked around the mall for 7 hours, hoping that one girl from school would be at the Orange Julius, right? And, on Saturday nights, we'd be at the roller rink, and we'd wait for the slow dance so we could ask her to skate and then get, cheese fries and a Coca-Cola or RC or whatever. No, our young people don't get to see love and romance and eros blossom naturally. They don't have two-parent homes. And if they do, their parents are addled by work. And then everything is political, and our children have been dragged into politics. It used to be even politicians stopped politics at 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Reagan and Tip O'Neill had a deal that after 6 p.m., they were just two Irishmen at the bar and no politics, right? Now our children have to deal with politics 24/7. It's in our commercials. It's in every song. It's in almost every movie. We just went to see the new Mario movie. And it was so tremendous and so refreshing. The whole audience erupted into applause. And it was my son's first communion is for his president. He wanted the whole family to go see Mario and then to go get Hawaiian barbecue here in Texas, which we did.
Nice.
And the whole theater erupted into applause. And I thought, was it a great movie? I don't know, but it was a refreshing movie. It didn't push or tug. It didn't try to indoctrinate. It just was a movie. And it was beautiful. And this is what we should all agree to leave to our children, not having them wrestle with what gender they are or debate whether or not they should have their testicles chopped off. This is all insane.
It is. And I feel you 100%. I know I sound like an old guy sometimes, but, I tell my daughter this, man, it was so much simpler when I was a kid. There was none of this mess, Like I remember sitting at my grandparents, and we were all sitting as a family, we were watching something, the news came on. And I think it was the beginning of Iran-Contra, and they were talking about guerrillas and rebels, and I had no clue what a guerrilla. I was like, gorilla? You mean like the big monkey things? I had no
That's
clue.
What I thought the first time I heard my parents talking about Iran-Contra. Yeah, there are guerrillas in Nicaragua. Wow.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? But I mean, to your point, man, our whole society is just so super saturated with it now. You're 5 and you're having to look at God knows what in all forms of social media, streaming, television, movie. I mean, it's all sort of it's interwoven in there, so you can't help but have to have a way too early conversation with a kid about why the guy at the checkout line's wearing a shawl and some nail polish.
Yeah, no, and see, this is going to lead to a loss of belief in the American way of life.
Yeah.
And you're already seeing on the left, the Antifas are illiberal, Stalinist leftists. And you see it on the right. A lot of people on the right, in the Catholic world, we call it Catholic integralism, where they think the American Republic from the beginning needs to be scratched and was flawed from its beginning. And well, of course they're going to think this, because their whole life they're told, you live in a free society, and here's your phone, son, and you're 7 years old and pornography is pouring through your phone. So yeah, they're going to go, no, that wasn't good. Okay, that was what freedom is, abortion and genital mutilation. Well, then freedom should be rejected. Mm-hmm. And so we're probably, in our lifetime, if things stay at this pace, we will die in a tyrannical society, because people will want to be able to walk down the street at night without being knifed by someone on fentanyl. And the children today who are the victims of trans ideology will not bear to stand this nonsense to continue anymore. And we're going to see a swing either to the totalitarian left or the totalitarian right. That's the only question. It will be definitely an illiberal, an authoritarian right and a totalitarian left. Pick it. What would you rather live in, an authoritarian right or a totalitarian left? Well, I would prefer to preserve the republic in which we were given. But our founding fathers completely understood that it was only for a moral people. And we are not. I mean, if if I'm to judge the whole country by what I know about myself, we are not immoral people. I'm not judging you and your neighbors. I'm judging me. So we're, I don't think we are the type of people that can really preserve this republic. So we should pray for revival, pray for God's grace in our own lives, in the lives of our communities and our families. And, the world's a sorrowful place. We were once the city on a hill. Imagine a hill where there is nowhere to aspire to, nowhere to admire. A world where there's no nation to admire. Well, we're not admirable anymore. And it's quite sorrowful to think that we've devolved to such a point. When I was in Iraq during the battle with ISIS doing a documentary, I interviewed Yazidi in internally displaced people's camps. And I'd asked them if their hopes were to go to America. And they were unanimous in that they never wanted to go to America because they've seen it on TV and they know it's such a violent country. This was an ethnic minority facing genocide that was in a camp that said, yeah, this is better than whatever is in America. I have Afghan friends that the first thing that horrifies them when they come here are the Amber Alerts. In fact, I had an Afghan family left Texas because it's a big state. And so you get Amber Alerts every 2 seconds. Doesn't matter where you live in Texas, you get an Amber Alert for whatever's happening anywhere in Texas. And it's relentless. They really just were afraid their children were going to be kidnapped. And so they left Texas for Virginia. So, it's real, when you look at what's happening in Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Sudan is a total catastrophe today. 16,000 Americans are about. I pray Biden does a better job with these Americans left in Sudan than he did with the Americans left in Afghanistan. We'll see. But how sad for the world that there's no longer a city on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we owe it to our posterity, but we owe it to the world to be stewards of what we've inherited. And we need to really pull each other up, dust each other off, and to make America good again. I'm more interested in us being a good people than a great people.
That's a pretty
You'd rather
good
have a
point.
good father. You'd rather have a good father than a great father, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right? You're not so impressed that your dad is president of Ford Motor Company if he's a horrible husband and father. You'd want a good father. And I want to leave my children a good country. And we should be great, but it's more important that we're good. We have everything to be great.
Yeah.
The natural resources, 2 oceans on each side protecting us from other powers, all the peoples of the world that we're a country made up of people that wouldn't take no for an answer, right? We're the children and grandchildren of people who wouldn't take no for an answer. And if you're first generation, you wouldn't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
It's fun to go to the old world. I love going to Europe. I love going to the Middle East. I love being an American there. But I love being the steward of my own destiny. Or a country made up of people who made that decision. So, and their descendants. So we should be great. Being great is in our nature. Being good is more important.
And that's a beautiful way to leave it almost. I've been looking at this quite a while for what's going on in France. And this is kind of off topic, a little sidebar here, but what do you think it's going to take for the American people to kind of get up off the mat, so to speak? And, I'm never calling for violence, but at least, stand up for what the heck is going on with this mutilation of children, I think a lot of people fell asleep at the wheel, or they all went, oh, abortion's been banned now. Well, we don't have to worry about that anymore. It's kind of like the Trump phenomenon. Oh, Trump's got it. We don't have to worry about that anymore. And I keep kind of looking, at large at the American populace going, okay, well, where you at? I think the rest of the world's kind of waiting for that big dog to get off the porch and act like Americans, A
lot of us are, right? I mean, there's a lot of us are. And that's why the censorship has been so brutal. That's why the intimidation. I mean, could you imagine? We live in a country where the CIA covered for Hunter Biden and the FBI is spying on Catholics. Now, look, I'm a Catholic. I wish we were worthy of being spied on. Okay, I could tell you, there is not a radical Catholic parish in America. I wish there were. I really wish that Catholics could pose a threat to the order of this country. Like, if you upset us enough, you better. No, come on. It's just crazy. It's insane. The only thing more insane is that you have Hunter Biden, who is literally in bed with Russia.
Yeah.
I wonder if he switched from Russians to Ukrainians now because we're supposed to stand with Ukraine. I wonder if he's done that. I wonder if he's spending his money in Ukraine now instead of on Russia. But I wonder if they come for free now. I wonder if they're gifts from the warlords that his daddy sent him money to. But the fact that the CIA covered for this despicable reprobate, and the FBI spying on rosary groups is really something else, man. So, but that tells you that we're standing up, but there's a lot more for us to do.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly the truth. Well, I know you got to run, Jason. What's the best place for people to follow you and support you? I know you're all over the place, but what's the best place to find you and support?
2 places. I'll give you 2 places. I have my own podcast, The Jason Jones Show. In fact, I'm running to do an interview right now with someone on the ground in Sudan, who's going to give us a report on what's happening there on the ground. So The Jason Jones Show, wherever you listen to podcasts. And also our organization, the Vulnerable People Project. I founded it over 20 years ago to stand with communities facing genocide, democide, and total war. So Biden has made it very busy for us. We're the only organization operating across Afghanistan still. Our core mission in Afghanistan is to defend and support the widows and orphans of our Afghan allies killed in action and help to evacuate and resettle every Afghan interpreter that we left behind. You can go to our website there. It's thegreatcampaign.org. We also provide security for Christians in Nigeria. We're building a hospital with a partner in Sudan, but you can look at all the work we do. We serve the most vulnerable people in the world, from the child in the womb to the Uyghur in Chinese-occupied East Turkestan.
Perfect. And I've got Movie to Movement up here. Is that yours as well?
That's me too. I'm also a filmmaker.
Thought so.
A lot of people think that's all I do, but I do make movies, and you can go over to movietomovement.com and check out my movies. My latest movie, Divided Hearts of America, with New England patriot Benjamin Watson, looks at how abortion, segregation, and slavery have weakened our republic by denying our founding principle, which is our principle of unity.
That sounds great too. Well, thank you so much, Jason. I couldn't thank you enough for being on and making the time for us today. And I hope to talk to you soon, man.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir. I'll send you these links after I post them.
All right. God bless you.
All right. Thank you. You too, Jason. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks, if you missed any of that, please check out anomicage.com. It's where you can find all things me, all things this show. So anomicage.com is where you're going to find this show and so much more. Always say paypal.me/anomicage, patreon.com/anomicage as well. As I always say, you can't do everything, but you can do something. Please try to get out there and do your part, and I'll be seeing you sooner than later in the Anomic Age.
Thank you for listening to The Anomic Age, a John Age project. For past shows, further info, and to comment, go to anomicage.com. That's ANOMICAGE.com. Till next time, thank you for listening to The Anomic Age.